guys, welcome back for episode number 112 of the weekly playback. This video will be all about Yonder, so super excited to talk about it, so let's just get into it. So let's talk about Yonder. This is a worker placement game designed by and illustrated by Hakan Holgarder, and it is for 1 to 4 players, and it's published by Sinister Fish Games. This game is hitting Kickstarter on July 16th, and I was sent this preview copy in order to create a sponsored overview video. However, this video and any photos I've posted of this game are not sponsored. So this game plays for 1 to 4 players, and I've played it twice now. I've played it at a 2-player count and at a 3-player count, and quite honestly, it played well, really well at both counts. So hopefully I'll get to play it at a 4-player count someday soon too. So first I'll talk about how this game plays. So each person is going to start out with 1 headquarters card, and that will give you a starting building spot. And each person is going to start out with 1 ship, and your ship will show you which workers you are going to start with and which additional resource or food you might start the game with. So the front of the ship will show you which workers you start with. So for example, this person is going to start with an elf, a dwarf, and 2 goblins, and they're also going to be able to pick up a hay barrel. And then the reverse side of the ship will tell you which special ability you have for when you are fulfilling envoys. So as you can see, each person's ship will give them different kinds of starting workers and a different kind of ability on the back and a different resource. And in addition to the starting workers and additional resource or food you start with according to your ship, you are also going to start the game with 1 of each regular resource, which is a hay barrel, ore, and a wood. And then you will also start with 1 grain, which is used to feed workers, and 1 fish, which is also used to feed workers. The other resources are meat, which will be used to feed workers, and arcana, which you will be able to earn throughout the game. And then again, we have various kinds of workers, which I will, I guess, talk about right now. So the various kinds of workers are goblins. Goblins have no special abilities, but they are easy to acquire. They will require 1 food, and I'll talk about feeding and when you do that when we get to that part. Dwarves will require 1 food, and their special ability is that you will get a discount of a resource or a basic food when you are building a building into your settlement. Elves will require 1 food, and their special ability is that they can go onto a worker spot that's already occupied, just not with other elves, so only other types of workers. Skeletons, their special ability is that they don't require any food. So if you have a skeleton left over at the end of the round, you don't need to feed it. And then ogres, their special ability is that if you go onto a worker spot in order to collect resources, you will get double the amount of whatever you're getting as indicated on that spot. However, they also require double the amount of food, so they require 2 food. So let me just show you the board. So the board has various areas on it, and I will throw out pictures so you can see what it looks like a little bit closer in the various areas. So in the main city area, you have various worker spots where you might be able to get like fish or different kinds of food and resources up here. Here you have some areas where you can do some exchanges. Here you're going to have your harbor where there will be ship tokens, and I'll explain when you get a new ship. Here you have the favor track, which you can go up in order to get some additional favors like bonuses. Here you will also get bonuses, but you need to spend arcana in order to do it in the upper city, which I think is funny because the upper city is located at the bottom of the board. Here you're going to have building cards, and here you will have envoy cards. So that is the board. So how this game plays, it's basically a worker placement game, and you are going to continue taking turns. So on your turn, you will be able to you will place 1 worker, and in addition to placing a worker, you can also fulfill an envoy or use an arcana token if you have arcana, if you were able to earn it. So in a 3 and a 4-player game, the 3rd and 4th player will start the game with 1 arcana. Is it just called arcane or arcana? I keep on calling it arcana. It's arcana. So, but these are valuable again because you can use them in the upper city in order to get some additional bonuses. However, you must know that in the upper city, when you are using arcana, you first have to fulfill the spot on the bottom row before the top row becomes available. So for example, this spot over here will allow you to take the top ship token, ship tile from the draw pile, but you can't place an Arcana there to do that unless someone, either you or someone else, had already previously placed an Arcana in the spot below it. So the bottom spots must be filled before you can take anything from the top spot. However, you can jump around. You don't need to do it in order. So yeah, so that is the upper city. And that is what Arcana is used for. And Arcana will be used to build some higher level cards as well, and for some other reasons that you might encounter. So the game starts with some basic building cards out on display, and there's going to be 6 of them on display. So these are the 6 starting building cards. And at the top of a card, you will always see the cost of building, and then the card will show you what kind of a card it is. So for example, these basic cards are just resource or food producing cards. So like for example, this one will produce 2 barrels of hay. And then you're going to have a deck that is comprised of level A, B, and C building cards. So you're going to have a stack of those cards, and those will come out as the rounds progress. This game is played over 5 rounds. So level A cards are mostly those resource producing and food producing cards. Level B cards are going to basically give you some kind of an ongoing ability of some kind, or an additional kind of special worker spot. So these spots are different than the basic worker spots and are more valuable. So as a result, they also cost more to build. So these are level B cards, and level C cards are going to give you end game points. And they cost even more to build, as you can see. So here is a card, for example, that requires an Arcana to build. So yeah, and it'll give you 2 points per building at the end of the game that you have in your settlement. So you are going to be building cards into your settlement. So on your turn, you must place a worker, and in addition to that, you can use 1 Arcana and you can fulfill 1 envoy. So what does fulfilling an envoy mean? Fulfilling an envoy means going into that area on the board that has the envoy cards over here on the side of the board, and there's going to be 4 on display. And the thing about this game is once someone takes something, it does not get replenished immediately. So you will take one of those cards, and then you will place your ship on it, and then you will deliver what needs to be delivered in order to fulfill that envoy. So I will show you the envoy cards to give you an example, an idea of what those are. So here are A level envoy cards. So you would place your ship on here, and then you would turn in 2 barrels of hay in order to get the market value of gold plus the delivery bonus. So you can do this one up to 4 times. So you can, for example, deliver 8 hay if you want and do it 4 times. And then you would collect the market value of gold 4 different times. So in order to determine what the market value of gold is, you're going to look at the round tracker. So in round 1, the market value of gold is 4. Then in rounds 2 and 3, it's going to be 3. And then in round 4, it'll be 2. And then in round 5, it'll be 1. So you're going to look at the market value of gold to determine how much gold you will get by delivering to this envoy. So you can do that once per turn, and your ship will give you some kind of a special ability when you are delivering. So for example, this one says, if this ship makes just 1 delivery, deliver for free without receiving the delivery bonus. So for example, if you use this ship, you could deliver for free just once though, so you wouldn't even have to pay the hay and get this just the 1 time, but you would not get the delivery bonus. So you are going to use a ship to fulfill an envoy. So in addition to placing a worker somewhere on the board or in your settlement or in front of someone else's settlement, you can use 1 Arcana and fulfill 1 envoy. The thing about envoys is in subsequent rounds, if you do not fulfill an envoy, you are going to lose 5 gold, and whoever has the most gold at the end of this game is going to win. So you are going to be keeping track of your gold as the game progresses, based on the score tracker that is around the board. So you will be collecting gold as the game is going on, and then at the end of the game, and we'll talk about how you get some end game points. So you will get gold from fulfilling these envoys, but the scary thing is that if you can't fulfill them in subsequent rounds, you will lose 5 gold for each envoy you fail to fulfill on any subsequent round. So you will always check when you're locking up, and I'll get to what locking up is. So you're going to be placing workers, and I already talked about the various workers and what their special abilities are. So for example, ogres, they can produce double the resources. So you could place your ogre, for example, on a building card, such as this one, and instead of getting just 2 wood, you would get 4 wood. And the nice thing is that you will see a reminder in every card whether a worker has a special ability associated with that worker spot. And you'll see that on the main board as well. So for example, here in all of the locations where you can collect something, you will see the ogre hidden behind the worker spot, so that will serve as a reminder that you will get double the amount if you place an ogre there. So you're going to place a worker and then either use an arcana or fulfill an envoy, and then that's your turn, and then it will be the next player's turn, and so on. So you're going to go in turn order. At some point, you might decide that you want to lock up. You can still fulfill an envoy, and you can still use an arcana without placing a worker and decide you want to lock up. So if you have used all your workers, then you have no choice but to lock up after you've used your last worker. What does locking up mean? So locking up means you will turn this upside down. So if you have a worker on it, first you're going to need to feed it. So now you're going to need to feed all of the workers that you have in your settlement. So if someone else placed a worker on a building in your settlement in order to activate that spot, you are now responsible for feeding that worker. So you might be giving other people workers, but they're responsible for feeding them now if they want to keep them. So you will be forced to spend food in order to feed workers. So each grain is worth 1 food. So, and then each fish is worth 1 food, and each meat is worth 2 food. So again, ogres require 2 food. All the other workers require 1, except for skeletons, which don't require any food. So you want to spend your meat because meat spoils. So if you have meat left over at the end of a round, you have to discard it. You cannot keep it into the next round because it spoils. And fish, if you have fish, you might not want to feed a worker with it because you can sell fish. So you are forced to sell any fish you have at the end of a round for gold. 1 fish for 1 gold. And again, gold, whoever has the most gold at the end of the game will win. So hay, is really easy food to feed with because it's worth 1 and you can save it from round to round. Grain does not spoil, so you can save grain from round to round and use it to feed. If you have any left over, you can save it, and it's 1 food, so it counts as 1 food. So you're first going to feed any of your workers. You're going to check that all of your envoys were fulfilled. So if you have any envoys from a previous round, for example, you need to make sure that there's a ship on it, or again, you will lose 5 gold on the gold tracker. And if you can't feed a worker, you're going to lose that worker. That worker will have to go to the main supply. And I believe you might even lose gold if you can't feed a worker, but let me just double check on that. So everyone in our game was able to feed workers. The only thing is, in the very last round, we decided that, if you can't feed a worker, like no big deal, like you'll lose the worker. But I can't remember if you lose gold. But again, in our game, everyone was able to always feed their workers. So let me just double check. So here we go. All workers that are not fed are discarded to the general supply, and you lose 3 gold for each unfed worker. So if you can't feed a worker, you will lose 3 gold and lose that worker. So if you are the first person to lock up, you will get first choice of the ship here. So in rounds 1, 2, and 3, at the ends of rounds 1, 2, and 3, there are going to be 4 ships in the harbor, and you will select one of them and decide which ship you want. And you get those in order of locking up. So there's all kinds of different ships with all kinds of different workers and abilities. So you'll see again the workers on the front of the ship, and the resource you get, and then the ability on the back. So the first person to lock up will of course take these ships, look at the backs to see what abilities they might offer, and decide which workers they might want in the next round. So at the ends of rounds 1, 2, and 3, you will collect a new ship and get new workers and an extra resource or food or whatever. And now you'll have another ship that you can use to fulfill an envoy in the next round. So that's how you will continue. You will continue in that fashion, placing a worker, and also optionally using an arcana in the upper city, or for some, in the upper city, or fulfilling an envoy. So when you fulfill an envoy, you basically just decide which envoy you want from here, or if you have an envoy already in front of you from a previous round, you can fulfill that envoy. But it's first come, first serve. So if it's your turn and you see an envoy that you want, you can fulfill it. So you have to fulfill it immediately. You cannot save it. And you have to make all your deliveries at once. You can't make like a delivery by putting a ship on it and then decide to come back later and be like, oh, actually, you know what? I have more hay that I want to deliver, so I'm going to make another delivery. No, once you place a ship on it, you have to decide at that point how many deliveries you are making and make them all at that point in time. So let me just show you some more of the envoy cards. So the A level cards, you know, they require a fewer amount of resources and will get you some gold, as all envoys do. Then the B level cards, those will get you better delivery bonuses. So, you know, they still require a certain amount of resources, but the delivery bonuses are better. And then the C level cards for envoys, those are even, oops, I showed you some of the wrong cards. Here are the B level cards. And then the C level cards are much easier to fulfill, but you don't get as much gold, obviously, because these are going to appear like in the last round. But they give you a really good delivery bonus that might help you in the last round if you really need it, which I find to be very helpful, which is really cool. So it's really cool the way that these are kind of staggered throughout the game based on the round. And again, so end of round cleanup. So after everyone has locked up, you're going to do end of round cleanup. So whatever ships are left over in the harbor, those will be discarded and you'll put out 4 new ships. You will remove any buildings that are left in the architect area. So in order to pick up new cards, you have to use the architect worker spot, and that would have allowed you to pick up a card here. So any cards left over will be removed, and then any envoys left over will be removed, and you'll put out new envoys, new buildings, and new ships. And then you move the round tracker and start the next round. And again, the value of the gold will decrease as the rounds progress. In round 4, the first person to lock up will get an Arcana. So that is the benefit of being the first person to lock up in round 4. And the first player marker will simply just pass to the next player in turn order. I did ask the designer, not the designer, the publisher, like, oh, why isn't the first player to lock up the person who gets to go first in the next round? And, you know, he explained, he gave a good explanation for it. And so I don't remember what the explanation was now. Maybe I can just check my email quickly. But yeah, he had a good explanation for it. So let me just go there very quickly. So he said, first player advantage is already balanced by giving an Arcana to the last player in 3 and 4 player games. And because there's already an advantage to locking up first, selecting your ship first, you also just pass the first player marker. So that's why the first player to lock up is not like the person who becomes first player in the next round. So yeah, so that is the explanation for why the first player marker is just going to pass to the next person. And really, that's how the game plays. So you're just going to be using whatever workers you have and making sure you're getting enough food in order to feed them. You're just getting a really good engine going. So you want an engine going where you will produce enough food in order to feed your workers, but you will produce enough resources in order to fulfill the envoys you have. So you want cards that work well in conjunction with each other. So it's an engine building game, just like Moon was. So if you've played his Hakan Garter's game Moon, which is one of my all-time favorite games, also an engine building game. It was a pick and pass game, but an engine building game. So that is just like this. So yeah, so you're just building up a really good engine, making sure you're producing the kinds of resources you need in order to fill envoys and feed your workers, and then get points and try to get the most points that you can. So again, you'll get gold from fulfilling envoys and from various cards you have. So for example, some buildings will say something like each time you place a worker in another player's settlement to gain 1 gold. Or here's one, so Goblin Thieves Guild. So this one says place 1 gold here whenever you place a goblin in the city. And cards like this one When the round ends for you, when you do lockup, you will count how many gold are on this card and move that many spaces around on the gold tracker. So the gold will continue to accumulate here from round to round. So cards like that are really great. And let me just show you the gold pieces. So yeah, so you'll be placing gold pieces onto certain cards and they will accumulate as the game progresses. And again, various kinds of ships with different cool ship names and ship abilities and stuff like that. Yeah, so in the 2 games I played, in the first game I played, I found end game before I get into my thoughts about the game. At the end of the game, after you've done your locking up in the last round and feeding your workers and, you know, losing gold if you have unfulfilled envoys and any unfed workers, then what you're going to do is look at your sea level buildings to see how much additional gold you are getting, and then whoever has the most gold will win. So at the end of the game, after you do your basic lockup stuff, it's really easy. All you do is look at your sea level buildings and see how much additional gold you're getting, and super easy. So this game was super easy to set up, and it's going to be super easy to tear down and, like, you know, do your end of game scoring and tear down as well, which I really love about this game. So I think I've gone over everything, and you know, this game will come with these player references, which are really great. Which will show you all the different workers and what their special abilities are. So it'll remind you of that. It'll remind you of the different kinds of iconography and what it means. And the different kinds of stuff that you'll be getting in this game. Like, it tells you what arcana is used for, it tells you what food is used for, and resources, and so on. And then on the back it has the turn reference, so it tells you that you will be placing a worker on a worker spot before or after you may use arcana or fulfill an envoy once per turn. And then it tells you what you need to do in order to lock up. So really great player aid, super easy game. You know, it's just like other games by this designer, very easy to learn, just, you know, going to be a little bit difficult to master because you want to get the best engine going possible. So in the first game, I felt like I didn't have a very good engine. I found myself in my first game of this, my 2-player game, not really using the favor track, and I didn't really use the upper city. I didn't really place any arcana there, and I lost the first game. I also lost the second game, but let me just tell you what the scores were in both plays. So in the first game I played of this, it was a 2-player game, and I ended the game with 52 points, and my opponent had 56 points. The second game I played of this, our scores were much higher. I think, you know, the first game, you know, we're both learning the game together, me and my opponent. So we're both learning the game together. So maybe we didn't have the best idea of like how to get a really good engine going. But in the second game I played of this, I was able to explain the rules really well to my opponents, and yeah, they did really well. So I had 83 points, then the next person had 89 points, and then the winner had 93 points. So I feel like it was a pretty close game, and I honestly thought I was going to win in the second game because at the very end I was able to pull off like some really cool stuff. I was able to, you know, get an additional worker. I had like only a couple workers going into the 5th round, because that's the thing, right? At the ends of rounds 1, 2, and 3, you will get a new ship and you'll get some new workers, but then when you're going into round 5, you're not getting a new ship. So whatever workers you have in your settlement, you want to make sure you can feed them, because those are the workers you're going to have for round 5. So at the end of round 4, you want to be really careful, and you want to try to use workers in your own settlement so that you'll have workers to use in the 5th round, because otherwise you're not going to have any workers to use. Or you can just not use workers in the 4th round and feed them at the end of the 4th round and then have them available in the 5th, because you don't have to use all your workers before you lock up. But if you have used all your workers, then you must lock up. So at the end of the game, in my 3-player game of this, I was able to do some really cool stuff. I was able to get an extra worker. I was able to get one last envoy fulfilled, like one last ship. I was able to get another card built. Like, the last round was really good for me, and I was able to pull off a lot of stuff while still making sure I had food to feed my workers. Like, I was really feeling really good about it. And I had some buildings that were going to give me end of game points. I had one that was just straight up going to give me 12 points. I had another that was going to give me 2 points for each ship I had. I had another that was going to give me 2 points for each envoy I had. So I was convinced I was going to win, but in the end, they pulled off their victories and I did not. So yeah, but I really love this game. I super duper love it. I am a huge fan of Hakan's games. I love the simplicity of them, but the depth that they have with the engine building. I love the, you know, how this game has variable worker powers, super cool. And I love how you won't always have the same workers from round to round. You know, there's just going to be so much variability based on where you play your workers and whether other players play their workers into your settlement and so on. So super cool game, you know, and not all of the cards are going to come out each time you play. There are more cards that are needed in the game. So the way that, you know, they're timed about how many cards come out at the end of each round, there are more cards in this game than will show up when you play. And, you know, I'm hoping that Hakan will add even more cards. Like maybe that can be some stretch goals. You know, that would be really cool if he's able to add even more cards to this game. But I super duper loved it, and I am so happy that I got to cover it because I am a huge fan of his games. So yeah, I know that this is just hitting Kickstarter in a couple of weeks, but I'm already wondering what he'll come up with next. So yeah, so that was Yonder. So again, if it sounds like something you're interested in, you should definitely check out the Kickstarter. And I will be shooting an overview video for this probably next weekend, so you can stay tuned for that as well. And of course, I'll leave a link to the Kickstarter both on this video and my overview video. And they did send me my own personal link to use. So I will say that if you are going to back this game, because my explanation really helped or got you really interested, it would be really great if you use the link that I am going to leave below to back this game, because it'll just show the publisher that, you know, my work is valuable for them. So it, you know, it matters. So it does matter. So if you're a fan of my content, definitely use the link that I leave below. So yeah, so that was Yonder. So let's move on. So the only other game I played in the last week is Patchwork. So I played Patchwork Halloween and the actual physical copy of the game, not online. I've played so many games of Patchwork on Board Game Arena, but this time I played with the physical Halloween copy. So that was fun. I really thought I was going to win. I got the 7-point bonus for getting the 7x7 grid filled first. I got a couple of those special patches to fill in empty spaces and so on. But in the end, I did not win. So I don't remember what the scores were. I forgot to record it. But yeah, so I played Patchwork, and that was the only other game I played in the last week. It was not a very game heavy week for me, gaming heavy week. So let's just go on to games that I'm backing. So last week I mentioned that I was backing Iliad and Ecor, and I canceled my pledge for that. So I decided that I don't need it, and I can just wait until it comes out in retail. If it's like super good, then I'll just, you know, get it then. Because their games always come to retail, and I've seen them at my local game store at Millennium. So I'm like, I really don't need to get that. I should be saving money. So I canceled my pledge for Iliad and Ecor. So the only other thing that I'm backing right now, because Ada's Dream ended, Apot the Bakery ended. So as you know, I was backing Ada's Dream at the £1 level so I can get my production copy of it, and I was backing Apothecary at the Apot the Bakery at the all-in level. So the only other game I'm backing right now is Brink. So I did reach out to the publisher, IV Studios, and asked them if I could cover the game for the Kickstarter, and you know, they said they have a very limited amount of copies. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So they agreed that they would send me a production copy of it once it's produced. So I'm backing it at the $1 level so that hopefully I can get a review copy of it in the Pledge Manager once that opens. Because I do love Moonrakers. Out of their games, I would rank them probably Mythic Mischief, which I don't get played enough. I really want to play Mythic Mischief more often, just because it's everything, you know, that it has everything in it that I love. Like, it's a strategy game, kind of like chess. It's got magical creatures with magical powers, and you're in a school of magic. Like, how could I not love it as a huge Harry Potter fan, like as a fantasy fan? So I just really want to get Mythic Mischief played more often. So yeah, I just need to, you know, play more two-player games. If I had a partner, like a life partner who was into gaming, that would be, you know, really great, because then I would probably get more two-player games played and stuff like that. But sadly I don't. So, and then after Mythic Mischief, sorry for going on a tangent, is Moonrakers for me, and then probably Veiled Fate, and then Fractured Sky. Or, I don't know, Veiled Fate and Fractured Sky, maybe hand in hand. I have to get, you know, Fractured Sky played again, sometime soon, because it's been a while since I've played it. So yeah, so that's all I'm backing. So let me show you new arrivals, because there's a couple of games I have to show you. So the first one I'll show you is a new game from Devere, which, as you know, is one of my favorite publishers ever, and I feel like they can always do no wrong. Like, that sentence makes no sense. They never do any wrong. I guess, there we go. I think that makes a little bit more sense. So they sent me a review copy of Rock Hard, and I will admit, you know, funny because it's music themed, and we were talking about music themed games as the question of the week a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about Luthier. So I guess I have a new music themed game, and it also happens to be from the same publisher as Lacrimosa, so Devere Games. So they sent me a review copy of this. This is designed by Jackie Fox, and the art is done by Jennifer Geiner, and it is for 2 to 5 players. So I don't know much about rock music, to be honest. I'll listen to some rock music. I'm a huge 90s music fan. Like, I'm stuck in the 90s. Like, I listen to so much 90s music. So if it's like 90s rock music and stuff, I'll listen to it. I don't know who like the modern day rock artists are. I probably do listen to some rock, and just don't know that it's considered rock or whatever. So yeah, I'm not really big on names. I'm really behind the times. It takes me a long time to learn new slang or learn who a certain band is that's, you know, playing a song, that's singing a song that I really like. So this rule book is kind of like newspaper material, which is interesting. I wonder if that has something to do with like the music industry. I don't know. So I used a lot of my own bags, because this game, it came with like the basic factory bags that all the components were in, and I didn't like those. So I recycled all of the factory bags, and I have used my own bags. So any bags you see are provided by me. So here is the main board, and it is double-sided, so I'm assuming it varies based on player count. So yeah, you can see the player count icons. So here is the side that is meant for a 4 or a 5 player game. So yeah, so it looks like there's various regions of the board. It looks like there's like some hangout spot, which is in the orange. It looks like there's a radio station kind of thing going on. It looks like there's a stadium. It looks like there's an event stage or something. Like, there's just lots of stuff going on. It looks like there's a record deal area. So yeah, lots of stuff going on this board. Lots of components. So here are some player aids. So it does come with player aids. And this looks like, I don't know, maybe a round tracker or something. I really don't know. Just love that new board game smell. So good. Okay, and here is going to be a player board, and you are going to stick in whichever musician or band you are using into this dual layered board. So these dual layered boards, you have to like fold them over and then use these thingies, these knobs, to stick them in. And that's how the dual layered board was created. So this temperature tracker thing, or whatever it is, royalty tracker thing, and then there's some kind of a spot here. Those are also dual layered. So really cool boards with these cool knob thingies. So yeah, so you'll stick in your person or band right in there. So yeah, so the various bands or people, singers, whatever, it comes with, here we go. So there is some variety, whether like, you know, if you're like, I don't want to play like as a, you know, as a guy, or I don't want to play as a girl, whatever. There's like a lot of variety here. So yeah. I think we're getting back to the beginning. Yeah, I think we're back at the beginning now. So yeah, so lots of musicians to choose from. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 different musicians to choose from. And again, this game is for 2 to 5 players, and I don't know if all of them can be used in, like, say, for example, a 2-player game or whatever. So, you know, there might be some of that going on. So I've shown you the board, so let's show you some of the components. So it comes with these cool like bows, or maybe it's candy. I think it's candy, okay? Not bows. I was wondering what bows had to do with this game. I'm like, why does it come with bows? Like, do musicians really like bows? But now I realize it's candy. Okay, so it comes with this candy, not bows. It comes with these various pieces that I don't know what they are yet, but there's a bunch of different tokens like this that have various numbers on them. It comes with paper money. So check out this money that looks like actual money that's been like defaced. So it's got like stuff written on it in some instances. So yeah, it comes with this like money that has like various like things on them and stuff. So cool. I wonder if I can pass it off as real money. Maybe I should try. No, actually I can't because it doesn't actually have the president on it. so no, and that's a crime anyway. So yeah, so it comes with a bunch of these cards. Let me show you cards. There are a lot of components, by the way. So a bunch of different, oh yeah, so definitely candy because it says Sugar Rush right there. so definitely candy. Apologies, I think these are all upside down. Okay, there we go. So yeah, just to give you an idea of what some of these cards are, and this is like half of the cards, and then there's way more cards. So I'm going to show you the other cards. So yeah, here are lots of cards. Will not be sleeving this because there are a gazillion cards in here. So yeah. And they're tiny, and you can tell that if you sleeve these, they're not going to stay in a stack. They're just going to slide all over the place. So definitely not sleeving. So there's that. There's these cool record discs and cassettes. So you have like these cassettes and record discs. And I think players actually get these. I think that's part of the setup, if I recall. I just kind of glanced through the rules, and I think that there was like some kind of setup. There's this one die, and whatever that thing is, I have no idea. And then just a leftover piece for popping stuff in. Okay, and then there's these, like, these look, I don't know what they are, but there's like, what are they called? I have no idea what this is, but there's a bunch of them. And then there's a bunch of these. Here's those, and now let me show you some individual, actually before I show you the individual player pieces, there are these musicians. So I guess you will take whatever musician you have, and I guess, I don't know if you just slot him into your board somewhere. Maybe that's what one of the spots on the board was for, to stick this in. I really don't know, but there's a whole bunch of different standees of these musicians. And now I'll show you some examples of player pieces. So here are the player pieces for blue. So they're just some cubes. There's like a guitar pick and this thing that you're gonna be slotting into the board in some space. And then, oh yeah, I guess this is what the musicians will go into. This is the standee thing. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, so that is rock hard. So looking forward to getting this played. I believe it is coming out at Gen Con. And a couple of my friends yesterday were asking me if I'm going to Gen Con, and I was like, no, I'm definitely not going. I, already missed the deadline to apply for a press pass anyway, but they're all carpooling together, and they've already booked like an Airbnb, like a whole house or something. So they were trying to convince me to go, and I'm like, should I not? I don't know. I feel like it's way too late to decide. So I'm probably leaning towards no still, but I don't know. So yeah, so anyway, so that's rock hard. So that arrived. So let me just show you another game that arrived, and that is Ultimate Voyage. So this is a game that I will be covering for its Kickstarter. So it's Final Quest of the Treasure Fleet. So it's designed by Leonard Toe, and stories done by Ronald Sim, and characters by Fawn Goy. And I don't know who does the art, but it is published by Little Monks, it looks like. So what does it say on the back? It is for 1 to 4 players. And it says, journey back to 1431 AD Ming China and stand alongside Admiral Zheng He in the final expedition that once enforced the Ming tributary system. So Ultimate Voyage is a medium weight exploration game where you take on the roles of captains in the legendary treasure fleet. In each of the 7 to 9 rounds, you must take into consideration variable events, colorful encounters, and the capricious whims of 3 different deities. Then select 3 actions from among sail, trade, diplomacy, combat, construction, explore, and scout. So it has asymmetric player power, random setup, multiple paths to victory, different end game triggers, a quick game mode, and solo mode that pits you against the European explorer. A couple of typos which I'm going to highlight and let them know about so that the final version does not have those typos. So yeah, but it's a really nice pre-production copy, so like with a proper rule book already, which is really nice because oftentimes I have to print out my own rule book. So the back of the board has gorgeous artwork on it, so let me just show you the back first. That is beautiful. And then the front, I really love the colors. I love how vibrant it is. And look at the cool cities. Like it even has Mecca, like up here somewhere. Yeah, here's Mecca. Like how cool is that? Like super cool that it has all these different cool cities and stuff like that. So yeah. And then a lot of components. So let me just show you some of the player pieces. I love this color, like just so freaking beautiful. So it comes with ships, it comes with like different buildings. So yeah, so one of the ships is like screen printed and then the other ships are not. So I feel like that this is going to be like your main ship. And then here's an example of a building. It looks like a pagoda. So yeah, and then some cubes and stuff like that. So those are some player components. There's just all kinds of different tokens in the game. Again, I used my own bags for this. So yeah, a whole bunch of different stuff. Here are some pagoda pieces. It looks like throughout the game you will be assembling like a pagoda together. It looks like it's like all the players together. These look like warriors or something like that. These are vases, which are so beautiful. Oh, love those. A bunch of these tiny little tokens and some extra cubes, some dice. And here is the pagoda. And let me just show you some of the players that you can play as. Really cool artwork, and the back explains who you are and just like a story about them, it looks like. So yeah, you can see like on the back there's like stuff written down. Some more components. These, I just really love the colors. Look at those colors. I feel like they kind of match. So pretty. So let me show you some of the cards. Gorgeous artwork, like stunning artwork. Really impressed. Yeah, beautiful artwork. Yeah, there's more. Yeah, so I will learn how to play this and then play it and then make my overview videos. They are going to sponsor me to do an overview video of this game. So looking forward to that. So that arrived, and then a couple smaller box games arrived, which I will show you now after I just throw all of this stuff back in here. So yeah, so that is Ultimate Voyage, and then the couple small box games that arrived. One of the, someone reached out to me by email and asked me if they could send me their game, which is called Clash of Corgis. So Clash of Corgis, and I was like, sure, why not? I could, you know, play a game about corgis. I like dogs, so corgis are cute, and they were, you know, I think the breed of dog that the Queen always used to get in England. So let's see her corgis. Well, not her corgis, but corgis in general. So it just looks like a bunch of different cards with cartoon corgis on them and different numbers. So yeah, do not know how it plays. Comes with a rule book, of course. So we'll find out. So that is a small box game. I'm not like doing an overview or anything of that. So we'll probably take my time to play this until I find people who actually want to play it. Or maybe it'll be going to FladCon. We'll see. I feel like it's one of those games that will just be like a filler game. So yeah, so that arrived. And then I will be doing a sponsored overview video for this, which is Cat Sudoku Summer Festival. And my cat Toffee is in this game. So as you know, Toffee was put into a game a couple years ago by the same designer. And I think it was like some other Sudoku game or something like that. And he was also put into a deck of cards. So here he is in this game, and he's being made into an enamel pin. So his turn has come to finally be turned into an enamel pin. So this designer, this publisher, he also turns the various cats in his games into enamel pins. And Toffee's turn has finally come up. So of course I'm going to be getting a couple enamel pins of my sweet little Toffee. He is so sweet. Like he's in the gazebo right now, the cat zebo, but he's just so cuddly and so sweet. I love Toffee so freaking much. So yeah, so I'm super excited about this. So I'm gonna play this and do an overview video of it, and I'll leave a link below for the enamel pins, and he's also gonna have some play mats and stuff like that. So yeah, so that is the other thing that arrived. So those are the games that I am backing and or that have arrived. So now let's move on. So a quick update on FladCon. We've already sold a good amount of tickets. Like the first day of sales was really awesome. So let me know if you bought a ticket and if you're coming. It would be really awesome to see you. So yeah, so leave a comment below if you're planning on coming to FladCon. Would be really, really great to see some people who watch my content at FladCon. So thank you to everyone who has purchased tickets already. Yeah, just keep on buying tickets and, you know, make sure you come to the coolest con in upstate New York. So yeah, and the coolest place too. So that is an update on FladCon. I just want to say thank you to anyone who bought merch. I got like my commission, which was $10, so not much. So it's not like I earned like, you know, a lot from selling merch, like very little in fact. So I know that one of my friends, he showed up to game night last week wearing a shirt that he had purchased, and I was so excited because he didn't even tell me he was buying a shirt. And when I saw him and I saw my logo on his shirt, I was like, oh my god, you bought a shirt. I was so excited. So yeah, so he bought a shirt. I know another friend of mine bought a shirt, and one friend I know bought a mug. So maybe it's only 3 of them who purchased anything that, you know, led me to get $10, which of course goes towards feeding cats. So yeah, so thank you to anyone who's bought merch, and that will of course allow my merch to stay up for the next year until the owner of the website, Tim, decides that we need to sell again for merch to stay up. So hopefully my merch will not be taken down since I have now sold a couple of items. Yay. So again, if you do decide to buy merch and support my content, any funds I get from that is just used for cat food basically, because I spend way too much money on buying cat food to feed the stray cats in the colonies. I'll just add a little video here which shows you the feeding station at colony number 1. We still haven't gotten the other feeding station, but it shows you what it's like. It's basically like this raised structure, and underneath I placed some cement blocks so that you can put some food on the cement blocks and it'll be covered from the rain because of the top part. And then the top part is like this plastic container that is bolted down into the wood, and there's like a stepping ledge thing for the cats to jump up and get into the covered part, and so you can put food in that covered part. And it's really great because the location of this feeding station now keeps the water bowls in the shade when previously they would be exposed to the sun. So really happy about that. So still, you know, waiting for another feeding station, but this video that I have posted, I had just finished like wiping clean the water bowls, so they're still empty, so I hadn't yet put in water bowls and I hadn't yet fed the cats their wet food yet, in this little clip that you might see here if I put it up there. So yeah, so that is the update, I guess, on cats. Oh, I actually did see a little kitten in colony number 2 when I was feeding colony number 2 yesterday. There's a few different areas. Colony number 2 is really a big area. It's really nice. Like colony number 2 is really nice compared to colony number 1. Like if I were a stray cat, I would want to live in colony number 2. Like I would be really happy there, like super happy. So there's this little part of the colony that I call the village where I've put a lot of like little shelters for them, and other people have added some tarps and stuff and have turned it into like a little village. So I always go back to the little village area to add some fresh water there as well in the main area. And when I went back to the little village yesterday, I accidentally scared a mama cat and her kitten, and I saw a kitten, so I got a kitten sighting. So we're still trying to trap the 2 remaining kittens and the mama cat. That has not happened yet. When I went to assist last weekend, no luck. So trapping kittens is apparently really hard. So yeah, so no luck in trapping the kittens when I was assisting last weekend. So yeah, so I guess that is the cat update. What else do we have? So yeah, so let's move on. So I have an idea, and maybe people will be interested, maybe they won't. So, you know, I've mentioned a lot of times that there are so many books that people can read to learn about Zionism and learn about the history of Palestine. So I thought, why don't we start a book club? And, you know, having a book club holds people accountable. You end up reading the book, you have like deadlines, you know, to get a certain chapter read and so on. So it's like, why don't I start a book club for both nonfiction and fiction? And each week we can, you know, I can like maybe pose some questions to you, or maybe talk to you about my thoughts about a certain chapter and so on. Let me know what you think about that. So I thought that we would start a book club with reading The 100 Years War on Palestine by Rashid Khalidi. And for fiction, we could read The Dallargut Dream Department Store, which is a book I purchased recently and started reading and really like so far. It's a Korean novel, and it's not that long. So let me know what you think about having a book club where we could read this together and talk about it together. So it would be a good way for people to learn the history of Zionism and how evil it is and how it's basically the Nazism of today, and we can learn about what Palestinians have been going through for over 75 years now. So yeah, so let me know if that is something you would be interested in. If you are interested, let's just, you know, decide how much we're going to read right now. So I already went through the introduction, so let me just talk a little bit about this book first. So this is The 100 Years War on Palestine, a history of settler colonialism and resistance, 1917 to 2017. It is by Rashid Khalidi. So this is a new copy because I don't know where my old copy was. And it's been a long time, so it's basically going to be a good refresher for me as well. So Rashid Khalidi, his family is of course Palestinian. So lots of testimonials about this book. So yeah, like for example, after decades of scrupulous objectivity, Khalidi has now written a very personal book. This is a roller coaster ride through Palestinian history, 100 years without a moment of solitude. Like just lots of really high praise for this book. And having already gone through the intro, you know, you already start to get a good introduction on Zionism and what it is and what Zionists, like the founder of Zionism, have had to say and so on. So this book was originally published in, it looks like 2020. That's what I'm seeing. Yes, originally published in 2020. So let's read it together if you guys want. So if we do that, the introduction is about 17 pages long. So why don't we just say that we will read the introduction and talk about that in the next video, and then for the subsequent video, we will do the first chapter, which is the first declaration of war, 1917 to 1939. So that will be the first chapter. So the introduction looks like it is 17 pages long, or close to it, maybe. So let me know what you guys think about doing a book club. So, you know, I can read it, and then in the next video, I can, like, you know, ask you a question about the chapter we just read. You guys can share your thoughts in the next video's comment section about what we read together. So if you want to join, your assignment is to read the introduction of this book, and then in the next video's comments, we will, you know, have a discussion in the comments below about what we think about the introduction of this book, and then the assignment for the next video will be chapter 1. And we'll do the same with the fiction book club book. So the fiction book club book is The Dallargut Dream Department Store by Mi Lee, translated by Sandy Jusun Lee. So I've already read chapter 1 of this. So if you guys want to read chapter 1, we can talk about it in the comments in the video, in the next video. And I will leave like a question below or something like that. Let me know what a good format would be if you want to join this book club, because I think it would be fun and we would hold each other accountable and read books and learn together, especially when it comes to the nonfiction book. I just feel like there are a lot of people who, you know, could benefit from this, but of course, you know, there's going to be selectivity bias, I guess that's what it's called, because obviously the people who need to learn the most are not going to join this book club and read the books. It's going to be people who are already kind of educated about the evil that Zionism is. It's going to be the people who are already inclined to learn and read more and educate themselves and have an open mind and not just believe everything that the media is telling them. So there is going to be some kind of, you know, self-selective bias here where we're not actually going to be touching minds that we hope to be touching, but, you know, at least I'll be talking about it, and maybe people out of hate watching will end up watching it, because I do have a lot of hate watchers. So I have people who watch my content just because they hate me. So the hate watchers will get to, you know, hear my thoughts on the book as we're reading it. And yeah, so maybe they will learn a thing or two. So yeah, so that is my book club idea, and let me know what you think and whether you would participate. If it turns out absolutely no one wants to participate either for fiction or nonfiction, then I guess we won't do it, or maybe I'll just do it anyway and just talk to myself in my videos and talk about my own feelings about each chapter that I read. So yeah, so I thought that that would be a good change of you know, pace or whatever from me just ranting about this industry and how pro-Zionist it is. So I thought it would be a good way for everyone to just educate themselves. But yes, you know, I'll give a quick 30-second rant. Yes, the industry is very pro-Zionist, and even after my last video, no one has said shit to Board Game Geek for their pro-Zionism stance or Gen Con. Like, everyone is still pro-Zionist and defending Zionists in this industry. So, and they always will. They always will until it becomes like mainstream to actually acknowledge what Zionists actually are. So yeah, so this industry sucks. Yeah, and the TTRPG industry is much better when it comes to calling out the evil that Zionism is. And in this industry, people are still afraid to call out Our Family Plays games for being sponsored by Zionists and accepting blood money, because apparently you cannot criticize certain people in this industry if they belong to a certain racial group. However, it's perfectly fine to criticize me. Like, that never stopped anyone from criticizing me. I'm a minority. I'm like a much bigger minority in this industry than, for example, Black people are. But that never stopped anyone from criticizing me. Like, I have seen people actually post, you know, a couple years ago that I'm not immune to criticism just because I'm a Muslim of Middle Eastern descent. So, you know, same thing, Black people should not be immune to criticism just because they are Black. Like, I understand, you know, Black people face a lot of systemic racism in this country, but that does not mean you are immune to criticism when you are accepting blood money. But unfortunately, I'm the only one who seems to be calling them out on it. So yeah. So yeah, so same thing as always. So that is my rant for the week, and let me know if you want to join the book club and we can talk about it. So let's move on. So this week's question of the week is inspired by Yonder. What other worker placement games do you know of that have workers with variable powers? So two come to mind for me right now. Of course, my all-time favorite game, Obsession, which is kind of like a worker placement game because you are hosting various activities and assigning workers to the activities. So kind of like that. And the different workers you have are like a footman, a butler, a lady's maid, and so on. So Obsession is the first one that comes to mind. And another one that comes to mind is one of my top 10 worker placement games of all time, which is Abomination, the Heir of Frankenstein. Absolutely love that game. However, if you play it with the shortened version, the Igor variant, which is a variant designed by the designer of the game, and you can find on the publisher's website. Highly recommend you play with the Igor variant if you decide to play that game. So that also has a couple different workers with variable player powers, or just various players' strength. So some workers have more strength than others, basically. So let me know of what other worker placement games you know of where the workers have variable player powers. I'm trying to remember if the Garfield games, if the West Kingdom trilogy has variable workers. I cannot remember right now. So let me know. And until next week, bye.